Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome if you are new. In today's video we're going to start a new colour along and I've chosen this book called Luna by Trolle because one of my subscribers asked me to do a colour along in this book. So the picture that I've chosen to do is this lovely like water lily picture with these little gecko lizards in. So I thought this would be quite a nice one to try, and I'm going to be using the Arteza pencils in here because I haven't used them in this book yet. The only other picture that I've done in here is this one, the nameplate page, and I used the Brute Verna pencils and they worked really well in here, but I wanted to try the Artezas to see how they work. So I'll go ahead and zoom you in and we'll get started. So first, going in with Sapphire Yellow, we're going to make a start on the inside part of the flower itself. Now, I've had a look on Google and these are like a yellowy orangey type colour, and then the water lily itself is like a nice bright pink. So I thought we'll start with the insides and then work our way out. So I'm just going to use light pressure on here and fill in these little tiny details. Next, taking Sunflower Yellow, I'm going to use this to add some shade into the bottom pieces. So I'm just going to use it right at the bottom of each of these little strands and just darken up the very bottom section. Just so that the bottom and like the underneath is a little bit darker. And then I'll just add a little bit to the center of the one on the top, just right at the bottom edges. Next, going in with Lemon Yellow, I'm going to go ahead and brighten up the very tips of these little centerpieces. So I'll just use normal pressure now and take it over the darker colour and the lighter colour. And so far these pencils are working quite nicely in here. I guess the real test will be when we come to do the actual flower and the petals. Next, going in with Tuscan Sun, I'm just going to go ahead and darken up our shadow colour because it's not quite orangey enough. I don't think that's going to be dark enough either. So I'm going to try Pumpkin Orange, see if this one is dark enough. And I'm just using light pressure with this, but just going over where we added the orangey tones. Okay, I think that's showing up a bit better. So I'm just going to go ahead and go over and darken up the orangey pieces. And again, I'm just going to use light pressure. Okay, now I'm going to go in with Plum Purple, and this is going to be our darkest shade of pink that we're going to use. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in these tiny little gaps in between the yellow parts, because this would be darker underneath here. So I'm going to use the darkest shade to just fill in these tiny little gaps. I'm just going to use normal pressure for this. then what I'm going to do is start to take this colour at the tops as well, but I'm just using lighter pressure here just to add a bit of this colour a little way up the petal, because we want the end of the petal to be the lightest part. So I'm just using lighter pressure and just taking this colour a little bit further up each petal. So next, going in with pink macaroon, I'm going to use this to do the middle section. So I'm just going to use light pressure and add that into the middle of the petal. Then taking peaches and cream, I'm going to use this, and again just use light pressure and fill in the very tips of the petals. So going back in with plum purple, I'm going to start to just use light pressure, but just bring some little lines up the petals. And you want to have quite a sharp pencil for this, so you get nice thin lines. I'm going to do the same for each petal, and again I'm just using light pressure. So then going back in with pink macaroon, I'm going to go over where we left the lighter pressure of the plum purple, using a bit more pressure, and start to blend this up the petal. And then I'm going to go in with my white pencil and just go ahead and blend the top section down into that pink macaroon, just so that the top piece is the very lightest. Okay, so next, going in with plum purple, we're going to make a start on the next set of petals. So for this, I want to darken up right across the edge where the petal on top would cast a bit of a shadow. So I'll just use normal pressure there. And then again, I'm just going to start to lift the pressure as you come up. So just make sure you haven't got a harsh line. So I'll do the same for all of these petals. Then I'm going to go in with peony pink. So this one is a little bit more pinky than the pink macaroon, because I want this to sort of get darker as it comes down. So I'm just going to use normal pressure and take it over the plum purple and blend that together. And then again, I'll just lift the pressure as you come towards the edge of each petal. And I'll do the same for all of these. Then taking pink macaroon, I'm just going to use light pressure and go ahead and add this colour right to the tip of each of the petals. Then going back in with our white pencil, I'm going to go ahead and go over where we left the pink macaroon and pull this down into the other colours just so that everything blends nicely together. Then taking eggplant purple, which is slightly darker, I'm going to do the same again, but just using light pressure and add in our little lines into the petals. Next, going in with orchid purple, we're going to make the next layer a little bit darker at the bottom again. So I'm going to use this one right up against the edge. And then again, just lift the pressure off as you come away to blend it out. Then I'm going to go in with plum purple and I'm going to go over the top so that it darkens it up even more. And then I'm going to start to lift the pressure as we come up the petal. And then I'm going to use pink macaroon for the very tip. So again, just light pressure. Take it over the plum purple as well. Okay, so I'm going to go back in with plum purple and I'm just going to go over with normal pressure where we added the other purple, orchid purple. And then I'm going to start to lift the pressure on this blend up here. And then I'm going to go back in with pink macaroon and just use normal pressure now and blend this all together. And then going back in with eggplant purple, I'm going to do the same again. So I'm going to add in our little lines into the petal. And some extra ones on the sides. Okay, and I quite like how that one came out, so I'm going to do the same for these flowers. So orchid purple to go right up against the edge of the other petals. And then lift the pressure to blend that out. Then going back in with Plum Purple, I'll do the same again. So I'll go over this with normal pressure. And then start to lift the pressure as you come up the petal, leaving the lightest bit at the top. Okay, and then going back in with Pink Macaroon, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the top piece. So I'm just going to use normal pressure this time and go ahead and fill in the top section of each petal. Take it down over the Plum Purple as well. Then going back in with Plum Purple, I'm just going to go ahead and go over some of the blend lines just to make sure that it blends nicely and we've got no harsh lines. See, this one here looked a little bit harsh, so I'm just going it over that to blend it out. We'll do a bit on this one as well. A little bit up here. Then going back in with Eggplant Purple, I'm going to go ahead and add in our little line details. So again, just light pressure here. Okay, next going in with magenta, we're going to make a start on the lower leaves. So I want these ones to be even darker. So I'm going to go ahead and just use light pressure with this colour and add a little bit of this colour right down into the bottom here, where we'd have a bit of a shadow from the petals on top. So I'll just do this for all of these bottom leaves. Then going back in with Plum Purple, I'm going to go ahead and go over that and darken that up. So just use normal pressure now, take that over where we added the magenta, and then I'm just going to lift the pressure right round the top edge, just so that the top edge is a little bit lighter. And I'll go ahead and do this for all of these lower petals. Then taking Pink Macaroon, I'm going to go ahead and just fill in the very edge pieces. So I'll just use normal pressure for this and just fill this in and take it over the darker colour as well, just so that everything blends together nicely. Then going back in with Eggplant Purple, we're going to do the same and add in our little lines onto these bottom leaves. Okay guys, and that's our first little flower done. Next, going in with Steel Grey, we're going to make a start on this little gecko here. And what I want to do is kind of make a little bit of a shadow where he would be poking out of the water. So anywhere where I think that he would be coming out of the water, I'm going to add this to. So I'm going to just do really light pressure and sort of add this over his little face, so that he's got like a little bit here where his face is just popping out of the water. And then I think we'll do another circle here around his back where this would be poking out of the water. And we'll do one here where he's got like his little foot and tail out of the water. So next, going in with Lemon Yellow, I'm going to make a start on the parts that are out of the water, and I'm going to fill in his little dots in yellow. So I'll just use normal pressure for this, fill these in. And then here on his back, fill in his little dots. And then we've got this little bit on his tail with a few dots that would be sticking out of the water. Next, taking Sapphire Yellow, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of his dots in this lighter shade so that it looks like it is under the water slightly, and just slightly dulled the colour. Next, taking lime green, I'm going to use this to do a base coat on him. So I'm just going to use light pressure and go ahead and add this colour down. So I'm going to go over all of him with this colour because this is going to be our lightest shade. Next, taking absinthe green, I'm going to start to add some shade to him. So what I'm going to do here on his head is start to darken up around where we added the grey line, just so that we've got like a little bit of a shadow there. So I'm just going to keep this on the actual lizard and just start to darken up where we added the grey. And then leave the lighter patch in the middle. So here again, where we've got his little body, I'm going to go ahead and add this colour in to create a bit of a shadow. And then I'm just lifting the pressure as we come towards the middle so that we're left with the lighter colour in the middle. And then here I'm going to darken up again around the edges. And leave the little lighter patch in the middle. And then we'll do the same for his little toes. So I'll go ahead and fill them in. And then a little bit of his leg here, and just leave the lighter patch in the middle. Then going in with matcha green, I'm just going to darken up the very edges of these little circles that we've done where the water is on top. So I'll just darken up the edge of his face. And again, I'm still just using light pressure for this. Take it round here as well. And then we'll do the same here. So I'm just going to run this along the very edge and the very edge on this side. And then again, just around the edge of the green that we've just put in. And the same for this bit down here. Just take this a little bit further down. Okay, and then we'll do the same here. So just sort of go around where we left the last green. And we'll add a little bit to his foot there. Then taking moss green, which is slightly darker, I'm just going to go ahead and use light pressure, but add a bit of this colour down to the bits that are underneath the water. So here where he's underneath the water, I'm just going to use light pressure and go ahead and add a bit more colour to him. Next, taking periwinkle blue, I'm going to start to add some water on top of him. So I'm just going to use light pressure again and go over and just take it slightly over his actual little skin. Anywhere that we put underwater, I'm going to put this over. So I'll take it up to where we did the water coming around his little head. and here. And then his little tail. And then I'm just going to start to bring this colour out around him. So I'm still using light pressure for this. So going back in with steel grey, I'm going to go ahead and darken up around where the water is sort of breaking. So I'm going to take this all the way around the outside of his face. And I'm just using normal pressure for this bit, just to sort of cast a bit of a shadow. And then I'm going to do the same here. And on his tail. Next, taking sky blue, which is a little bit darker, I'm going to start to add some shade into the water. So where I've added the grey, I'm going to add a little bit of this colour as well. So I'm just going to take it on top there. And then lift the pressure. And around here as well. And then I'm just going to use this colour to go over the parts of him that are under the water, again just to give it a bit more of like a watery colour on him. Then I'm going to go back in with lime green, and I'm just going to go over this grey here because it's standing out a bit too much. All trial and error, add a bit more colour in. Leave the lightest patch in the middle. Again, I'm just adding a bit more colour around the edge of his face here. Okay, and I'm quite happy with how that's looking, so I'm going to go back in with sky blue and just start to darken up the water around him. So I'll just use light pressure and go ahead and go over this. Next, taking sapphire blue, I'm going to start to add a little bit of shade here. So where this water lily would be casting a bit of a shadow, and I'm just using light pressure again and just adding in a little bit of a shadow from these lilies and their little vines here. So I'm just going to go right up against the edge. And just use light pressure to add a bit of a shadow in. And then I'm just going to start to bring that out as well, still using light pressure. Then taking indigo, which is even darker, I'm going to do the same again, but just use light pressure, just so that the shadow is quite dark. And I'm just going to do this right up against where we want the shadow to be, so right up against these flowers and the little vines. And again, I'm just using light pressure to build the colours up. So then going back in with Sapphire Blue, I'm going to go ahead and bring this colour a little bit further forward. Again, I'm still just using light pressure, just adding more colour to it. Then going back in with Periwinkle Blue, I'm going to go ahead and blend this all together. So just use normal pressure, take it over the darker and the lighter colours. And then I'm just going to go back in with Indigo and just darken up our little shadow a little bit more. So again, just light pressure. Okay, so next going back in with Sapphire Blue, I'm going to do the same over here. So I'm going to start to darken up these edges. And again, I'm just going to use light pressure and start to build the shadow up. So I'm not going to put a shadow on him because he's under the water, so I don't want to add a shadow on top of him or around his legs or anything like that. So we're just going to shade these bits here where the vines are casting a bit of a shadow. And again, I'm still just using light pressure to add the shadow in. So I'm going to go back in with Sky Blue and add a base coat all into this section here. So just light pressure. And down here. Okay, so back in with Sapphire Blue, we're going to carry on adding a bit of a shadow in here. So I'm just going to go around the edge of the vine and the lily pad. And then just bring this colour down and into the water a little bit more. Do the same here. That bit there I've filled in because that would be in a bit more of a shadow. And then we'll add a shadow along this edge of this vine. Okay, so going back in with Indigo, we're going to go ahead and add a bit of a darker shadow. So again, I'm just going to use light pressure, go right up against the vine. And then just start to bring the colour down. And we'll do the same for these sections. So then going back in with Periwinkle Blue, use a bit more pressure here now and start to fill this in. And you can go over your little lizard as well because he's underwater there. And then I'm going to go back in with indigo and darken up our shadow a bit more. I'm going to do the same for this one. Okay, so going back in with Sky Blue, I'm going to add a base coat here to this section. So again, just light pressure. Take it up to about halfway, I think. Then take in Sapphire Blue, I'm going to outline the edges. And then again, just bring this colour forwards. I'm going to take it over his foot there because that's under the water, so you can go over that. Okay, so next going back in with indigo, I'm going to go ahead and add some more shadow along here. And again, I've just taken it over his leg. Sorry if you guys can hear my dog having a drink. Decided he's thirsty. And then I'll just add some right up here as well. And then just bring the colour out a little bit. And then going back in with Periwinkle Blue, I'm going to fill that bit in. Okay, next taking Sapphire Blue. I'm just going to go over our blend here because it's looking a little bit harsh. So again, I'm just going to use light pressure and just go over the very edge of the dark blue. Okay, that looks better. So I'll do the same over here. And then the last thing that I want to do is add some indigo, which is our darkest shade, around his little face here, because this is actually out of the water, so it would cast a bit of a shadow. So I'm just using light pressure here and just running this colour around the edge of his little face. And then I'll go back in with Sapphire Blue. Again, light pressure, blend this out. And then back in with Periwinkle, go over that blend. Okay guys, so that's how we're looking so far. So I'm going to leave this video here and we will continue this in part 2. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and I'll see you guys in the next video.